I'm going to give you some examples of businesses in Uganda, and then I'm going to talk about microfinance. I'm just going to flip through these pretty quickly. When you drive through Kampala, this is pretty much what it looks like. This is on the main road going through. There's just these little businesses, they're little markets, they're selling who knows what. They might have sugar, flour. Almost all of them sell cell phone minutes. That's very popular. And there's about 5 different cell phone companies there, so everybody sells cell phone minutes. And then right next to it is where they live. And they're living in a shack right next to their little business, and you can see, when it rains, the water just runs down these streets, and there's just garbage everywhere because they don't have a sanitation system there. It's very limited. Everybody basically burns their garbage. So the first thing you notice when you get out of the airplane in Entebbe is that it smells like burnt plastic, and it's because they burn all the garbage. But that's very typical what you see walking down the street in Kampala. This is very common too. As we're going outside of Kampala, here's a young man here. He just has a little business. He's selling planks of wood, and that's what he does to try to make a living. So you see a lot of little shops like this as you're driving along the road. One thing that's become popular is raising pigs. Since we were there 2 years ago, pork has become very popular. So now a lot of people want to raise pigs. So that's a little micro industry that's on the rise. Or you see things like this, chickens. They like to raise, a lot of things agricultural oriented. So they're raising chickens, they're raising pigs. And there's actually a Holstein cow on the island. The island we went to, they got a Holstein cow there somewhere. I think it came from Kenya. So there's this one cow on the island. Of course, you don't know this, but I grew up on a dairy farm, so they're asking me, we're only getting 3 liters of milk out of this thing, what's going on? I'm like, first of all, you gotta feed it, give it some water, and it was just, they were wondering why they weren't getting milk out of the cow, but they're trying to do things like that. This is a huge sugar plant, the Lugaze sugar. One of the things that industries that are there, a lot of sugar plantations, there is pineapple, there is tea plantations, coffee plantations. Those are very prevalent. That's a big core part of their economics right now, are these huge plantations that they have. These here, if you can see this very well, this is the back of our boat, and this is Lake Victoria right here. We're getting on our boat. These guys are basically luggers. There's no docks, and the dock is called Ripon, actually. That's the name of it, was Ripon. And so you go to Ripon to get on the boat, and they don't have any docks. So because the water's contaminated and they don't want you walking in the water, these 3 guys, what they do all day long is carry you to the boat. So they get in the contaminated water, and they get paid about 500 shillings, which is about 25 cents to do that. But that's what they're doing to make a living. So that's just kind of an example of what. And in the background here, this is all charcoal back here. If the picture's a little better, this ground is all black. It's because everybody burns charcoal to cook their food. So the charcoal industry, and this is part of what's going on with Uganda that's a negative, is they're cutting down all their trees, they're deforesting their country to make charcoal because that's what people cook on, because electricity is not reliable in a lot of parts of the country. This is another little shop. This is just a guy, I don't know why these are all over, but there's a lot of them making bed frames. You drive along the road and there'd be stacks of mattresses and bed frames just sitting out alongside the road to buy. So people must be a high need for beds in Uganda because they were all over the place. Here's the island that we went to. This is approaching Choya, the village right here. This is Choya. The island is about 5 miles long. I was told by one villager that this whole island at one time was covered with trees and got deforested 40 plus years ago. And now the trees are starting to come back along the bottom, but you can see the soil has basically been eroded. After they deforested the island, all the soil washed away. This is a typical hut in the village that we were at. As you probably know, it's a very impoverished area. The average Ugandan makes about $250 a year is their average income. And the one way they determine classes there, economic classes, this is one example. The lower class tend to have thatch roofs, and if you have more money, you have metal roofs. That's what we were told. So if you have a little more money, you tend to have a metal roof, and if you're doing worse, then you have a thatch roof on your hut. So.